I do know that Penguin Random House felt that there was definitely more, money, if you like, to be had from him and from them with regards to carrying on writing.
That was the number tied to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's publishing deal with Penguin Random House, a figure that stunned headlines worldwide. The promise felt bold, almost overwhelming, a multi-book deal to crown the Sussexes as literary forces, storytellers shaping their own truth beyond palace walls. Insiders whispered about the goldmine, royal revelations only Harry and Meghan could bring to shelves across the world. This was meant to be their legacy, proof that stepping away from royalty would unlock doors once tightly sealed. But the reality that slowly surfaced tells a different story. That $40 million dream, meant to establish Harry and Meghan as lasting authors, has quietly unraveled. Media is only now catching up to what insiders already knew. The relationship with their publisher has broken down beyond repair. From that grand vision, only one book emerged. Just one. And despite selling millions, sources say it may have actually cost the publisher money. So the question lingers, what really went wrong? When a deal this massive collapses so dramatically, when constant calls demanding more money define the partnership, it reveals something deeper about how the Sussexes handle their deals. This pattern isn't new. We've seen it with Netflix, with Spotify, almost every major partnership since they stepped back from royal life. What happened with Penguin Random House offers a clear window into why the Sussex brand keeps struggling, despite all the hype and their much publicized California reinvention. The original deal was designed to benefit both sides, spanning years, multiple books, and massive profits. Around $40 million was on the table, an extraordinary bet on two voices with little writing experience. In the end, the publisher wasn't investing in experience. They were betting on access.
Meghan Markle got that deal for the bench based on the fact that Harry was going to do the big book. And he delivered in many respects in the big book, but it didn't make them a profit. They didn't turn over a profit. Right, Penguin Random House?
On the inside story of royal life that only Harry could truly reveal, and the star power Meghan brought from her Hollywood background. The plan was simple but powerful: multiple books, steady releases, and a lasting presence on bestseller lists. Meghan's children's book, The Bench, arrived first, carried largely by anticipation for Harry's much bigger memoir. It drew mixed reviews and modest sales, nowhere near enough to justify a deal of that size. Insiders saw it for what it was, a side project, made possible by Harry's far heavier obligations. Because the real prize, the real reason Penguin Random House invested, was always Harry's story. When Spare finally dropped in early 2023, the world paused. And it delivered. Raw family tensions, deeply personal confessions, even shocking revelations, everything readers had been promised. Sales exploded. Records broke. Headlines spread across the globe. For a moment, it looked like a genius move. The publisher had secured the most talked about book of the year from one of the most famous figures alive. But then, nothing. No follow-ups. No new deals. No momentum. The grand multi-book vision, the one meant to fuel years of content and profit, simply went quiet.
Initial deal with this book publisher was a multi-book deal worth around $40 million, right? Multi-book. And so, apart from Spare, there's been no other book that's come out since.
For those paying attention, the warning signs were always there. On paper, Spare looked like a triumph: huge sales, global headlines, and Harry making emotional TV appearances. It sparked conversation everywhere, exactly what publishers crave. But beneath the success, cracks were already forming. Insiders now say that despite selling millions, Penguin Random House actually lost money on the deal. The costs were enormous: marketing campaigns, global distribution, and even a high-priced ghostwriter. When everything was added up, the numbers simply didn't work. The most damaging truth? The book may never earn out, meaning it won't recover its advance or generate royalties. In publishing, that's a quiet disaster. And then came the symbolism. Reports claimed Spare became one of the most abandoned books at holiday resorts, read, then left behind. A perfect metaphor: intense curiosity, but little lasting value. Behind the scenes, tensions grew. The relationship between the Sussexes and Penguin Random House turned into a frustrating cycle: weekly calls, constant demands for more money, and a widening gap between expectations and reality. One insider described Harry as having a deep disconnect from how money works, the idea that it can run out. It's not hard to see why. A royal upbringing shields you from limits, from budgets, from consequences. But stepping into the real world doesn't instantly rewrite that mindset. And this wasn't an isolated pattern. The same strain has surfaced in deals with Netflix and Spotify: renegotiations, pressure for better terms, partnerships wearing thin. Even Meghan tried to keep the deal alive, pitching new books after Spare. One focused on leadership and philanthropy, another rumored to be far more controversial. Both were rejected. Because in the end, publishers don't invest in titles, they invest in credibility. And without a strong foundation, even the biggest names can't carry a story forever. Meghan's credentials in this space feel more theoretical than proven, built on speeches and appearances, not measurable results. For any publisher, that makes a major investment hard to justify. The rumored divorce book, if it even exists, brings a different kind of risk. Yes, there would be curiosity, stories about Meghan and Harry always draw attention. But credibility becomes the real issue. After past inconsistencies and conflicting public statements, asking readers to fully trust her version of events is a difficult sell. And publishers don't just chase sales, they weigh backlash, legal risks, and reputational damage. Associating with a story that could be challenged or disputed isn't a gamble many are willing to take. That's why neither proposal gave Penguin Random House what it truly wanted: fresh, reliable, and profitable content. According to insiders, the message from the publisher is clear: they are done with the Sussexes. Not a pause. Not a delay. A permanent end. This wasn't just disappointment, it was financial damage. The deal didn't just underperform, it burned them. And in an industry built on calculated risks, that kind of loss leaves a lasting mark. What makes this break even more striking is how final it is. Most failed partnerships leave the door slightly open. This one? Completely shut. No terms, no project, no scenario strong enough to bring Harry or Meghan back. And the fallout doesn't stop there. Publishing runs on reputation. Editors talk. Executives move between companies. Word spreads quickly, and this experience will shape how every future pitch from the Sussexes is received. At the same time, a similar story was unfolding with Netflix. What once looked like a massive, long-term partnership slowly unraveled, ending in what now feels like a quiet exit. The pattern is hard to ignore. Big announcements. Massive deals. Early buzz, followed by unmet expectations, creative clashes, and eventual breakdowns. It raises an uncomfortable question. Is the problem the partnerships, or the Sussexes themselves? The consistency of these outcomes points to something deeper than bad luck. Meghan's public criticism of Netflix didn't help, it likely sealed the fate of that partnership. Calling a billion-dollar company too cautious wasn't just bold, it felt like burning a bridge. Even small signals, like Ted Sarandos quietly unfollowing her, spoke volumes. Despite being rejected by Penguin Random House, Meghan is still working on a memoir. But the challenge is clear: interest in her life before Harry is limited. The real demand lies in royal revelations, yet that's exactly what she claims she may hold back. It's a paradox. The only story that sells is the one she may not want to tell. And even if she does, credibility remains a hurdle. Any memoir would be her version of events, and after past inconsistencies, that raises doubts publishers can't ignore. Meanwhile, Harry's role has quietly shifted. Once the centerpiece, the royal insider, the main attraction, he now seems increasingly in the background, focusing on causes like the Invictus Games Foundation while supporting Meghan's projects. The dynamic has changed. And it shows. Step back, and a pattern emerges: big deals, big hype, then underperformance and fallout. Even Meghan's lifestyle brand, as ever, faces hurdles, with product limitations and unclear direction. Their upcoming Australia trip, once expected to reignite public excitement, tells a harsher truth. Polls show overwhelming disinterest. The magic of 2018 hasn't carried forward. Too much has changed. The Oprah interview. The documentaries. The book. The constant headlines. All of it has reshaped how people see them. And now, the bigger question looms. Their entire post-royal brand was built on one thing: their story. Every deal, from Netflix to Spotify to Penguin Random House, depended on it. But stories don't last forever. Each revelation loses impact. Each disclosure leaves less behind. At some point, the story runs out. And when that happens, when no one is willing to pay to hear it anymore, what remains of the brand they built? That's the moment Meghan and Harry may now be facing.